education. And I was like, I learned so much from my great grandmother, even at 4, 5, and 6 years old. There was a well. So we talk about temperature when I would go to the well to get water. And I'm thinking we're just having a conversation. But guess what? I reflected on it as an adult. I was learning. So when I went to school and I was conversant, talking to others 6 and 7
your father said about you, or the damage that relationship caused to you, or the F's you made over and over and over again, and the people tell you how dumb you were. Sometimes what you're saying to me, in order to grow, those experiences, you have to literally burn, erase, and start over. That business, that my business, let me do my thing. But why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? And many times I believe, and people get to the breakthrough, many of them do that because they feel like death, jail, or some type of life is inevitable. I'm open. I'm ready to receive and accept you. But how open are you really? And how much truth is acceptable? Or how much can you actually take? So I want you to talk to the parents or talk to the mentors who are from a different cultural generational time, right? Across the globe are really focusing on this whole child perspective, especially the social and emotional impact or parameters as it relates to what students need to be successful to learn. I know here in the state of Georgia in the U.S., it is a new initiative here for us, but we're still trying to wrap our young, single, and I've never dated a woman with accent before. Let me backtrack. The most important part to it is this constant shift in priority, almost like one will be weighted more than the other, but it still will level out at some point. But being a parent, being a teacher, or being a leader, being a student, being a son, being a friend, being loving yourself and giving yourself. Yes. And said, this is what he told me, but I'm not going to report it because you're black. Now, every parent, get in the comment section. Would you have done that? Of parents. Okay? There were a number of parents to the point that it actually became real. Now, in the future, the principal or the director of the school said that parental concerns will be handled on an individual basis. So basically, it was Dexter Reynolds. She laughed. She thought it was. She said, "Oh, Mr. Holmes, you have a crush." Isn't that cute? Right.
But sometimes the way they don't want them talking about their yes men, their bad sports. But you have to do the same thing for your kids. Forgive us our trespasses, and we forgive those who trespass against us. You don't want your administrators treat you a certain way to treat your kids, a certain way. A lot of times the way you treat people
do. And guess what? Forget it. I'm done. I'm gonna fail anyway. Yes. Mrs. Gibson, that is the face I get all the time when I see this.
it's a startling, realistic view of where.
Looking at the individuals, then you can begin to group. I think what happens in school improvement, sometimes we'll group the kids by yellow and red and green without drilling down, and then we start to drill down to the kids. I like to encourage, let's look at the student first, then look at the
information, because I really want you to read, but more importantly, I want you to be able to discuss with me what you read. For all my teachers,
hello everyone.
you guys,
hello everyone. Thank you for joining me. This is Teacher Talk, a special edition as we get ready for the year-end reflection. This is a great show, a great topic, a great discussion that I'm excited to have with each one of you. So if you are on YouTube right now, stop what you're doing. I want you to share. I want you to subscribe. And then once we start, I really want you to get in on the conversation. If you're on Facebook, of course, feel free to jump in the conversation. But get over to YouTube, and especially those who are on LinkedIn, get over to YouTube, and I want you to subscribe to the channel. And of course, get involved in the conversation by getting in the chat. Click that notification bell. Every time I come on, I'm normally on every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight is a special time. It's almost the end of the year, and most of you guys are off work, so you should have a little more free time to stay up and hang out with me. So I'll be right back. I'm going to put the YouTube links in the notification or in the chat for you. Get over there and subscribe to that channel right now. I'll be right back.
That I stay on and engage with you.
I believe it was a white lady that was interviewed at one of the Pride events, and she considered herself an ally to the Black Lives Matter movement. And she said that, I've been at plenty of protests where it's been gay rights, abortion rights.
All in all, people need to know that they have to and because everyone's not everyone works with people, they would need technology especially. But that's not the case. That's why I'm currently doing what I'm doing. But I think it just
I don't know if you said what you said because of who you are or your race, but I'm telling you it's inappropriate and it's insensitive. And since you made the comment on a virtual setting, I'm going to respond to you on a virtual setting. And so I'm going to let you know what I think. And at the end, Mom said, I have other options. Go to that school and you do the best you can and you learn what they're giving, even though it may not be at the level or the depth of some of the better schools in the community or the private school. But that's an issue. So that should also be something that you want to do.
No.
They didn't. They just haven't to do it. Oh my Lord. Okay, so let's go. So how did the black students maintain relationships in the white school? To change that particular narrative of the black student experience, because it is very holistic in the sense that we have black students that can do a bunch of things, including being intellectual. Donna says, I'm speaking in the perspective of my two sons toward the end of the last green guns. What does that depict? Does that depict violent behavior? So I have a question from Miss Elliott. Miss Elliott says, would you prefer the course be optional or a mandatory part of the curriculum? Honestly, later. But I definitely think there are some opportunities that exist in Title I schools that don't exist in other places. And I'm always up for a challenge. Because you can see some things in Title I schools you may not be able to see other places in terms of the work and the effort that you put in. So no questions about the need for cultural sensitivity in education as well as culturally responsive.
Hello, everybody. Look at that. Look at that hair flying away right there. Let me fix that. Let me fix it. There we go. So what I'm doing right now, they are some individuals who are trying to get on Facebook. So I'm going to actually throw the link inside of Facebook right now. So that way, for those that are looking for it, you can have it. I don't want you to not be a part of the conversation. For those of you that are joining, thank you guys so much. I'm excited about the conversation tonight. Should be fun. It's going to be, a good conversation. A little heavy because it's really about you. Like we're going to have a conversation about you, and you're going to do some work and some discussion and some reflection of who you are and your practices. And then I want you to be able to get inside the chat, feel comfortable to be vulnerable. This is a safe space to talk and to share and maybe think through some of those things that you are concerned about. So as I type this in, again, if you are on YouTube, what I want you to do right now is to, number one, subscribe to the channel. And then I want you to go back. If you're new, like some of the old videos, go back and watch them. Always informative, always fun. I try to bring a little bit of light humor to every conversation. I want you to hit the notification bell. I come on every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I would love to have you be a part of the conversation each and every Thursday that I'm on. Now, when we are live, as we are now, what drives this conversation is you. So what I want you to do is feel comfortable to get inside that chat, make comments, ask questions, provide feedback, whatever it is that you think you need to do to support driving the conversation. I want you to do it. So I see that Miss Bailey Matthews has joined. Welcome, welcome, welcome on YouTube. So go ahead and like and subscribe to it right now. Awesome. She has hit the notification bell. And so that is what I'm talking about. She's on it. She has made her contribution. And guess what? It was free. It was absolutely free. So thank you so much for joining. And then I see, oh, we have a superstar in the building. We have a superstar coming on. She is also a friend of mine I have known for quite some time. And I'm excited to have her join the conversation as well. So for those of you that don't know, I stream from several different platforms to do this. I stream from Facebook, I stream from YouTube, and I also stream in on LinkedIn. So I'm constantly navigating between all of those to make sure that one, everybody is a part of the conversation and that I can capture your questions, your comments as we are going through these particular topics each and every night. And then as you can see, I'm chatting, like I'm typing back real time. So nobody can be missed. So remember, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and then get in the chat. Everywhere you are, get in the chat because that really is important. So as always, what do I say? It's normally 9 o'clock, but it's not 9 o'clock. It is 10 o'clock tonight. So hopefully the kids are down because it's time for the grown people to catch up. So it is after 5 o'clock. So I hope that you have whatever it is that you like to drink after hours. I am normally drinking coffee or tea. I am drinking coffee tonight. I'm just an avid coffee drinker, so at night, don't judge me. But you don't have to drink coffee. You can drink whatever you want to drink. This is my handy teacher mug. My wife actually bought me. I do have Teacher Talks mugs. I do have giveaways all the time. So be on here, be present. I give stuff away. I sell merch. I give merch away. So I really want you to be here and then be a part of the conversation. Now, so grab your beverage. You may need it to kind of freshen up. You may need to clear your throat. You may need to clear your mind, depending on what you decide you want to reflect on and get into as we navigate through this tough conversation tonight. Maybe not so tough for some of you. Now, so we are really getting into this year-end reflection. So for all of my educators, this is not the end of the academic year, but this is a good time to pivot and reflect before we start back. For many of you, next week, right? The break is almost over. You're getting back into the groove of things, preparing for your students to come back. And then for those of you where you are not in education, this may be more personal. So we're going to take this from two perspectives, this professional perspective, also from a very personal perspective. It's up to you. I think that what topics we're going to encounter tonight, they're going to work on both ends. So you can do both. You can do one. You may want to do one tonight and then later reflect and do the next. So remember, I am an educator. I am a teacher at heart. I will forever be a teacher. So if you don't know about who I am, my name is Dr. Christopher Holmes. I am the CEO and head consultant of a small Black-owned educational consulting company called Fully Engaged, where we focus on creating equity and opportunities and access to equal education for all students. What students do you speak of? I mean Black, I mean white, I mean red, I mean green, I mean gay, I mean straight, I mean happy, I mean sad. Those that are up, those are down. Anybody that is in education, those are the ones I'm advocating for. So I fight for quality education for students, all students who are under the workings of committed, consistent, and capable adults. Let me say that again. I advocate for students to receive a high quality education from committed, consistent, and capable adults. Those are three big things. And sometimes I don't see that in some of the places that I go. And so I am supporting them to have these three attributes: committed, consistent, and capable. Clear focus. We have to have intentional work. So that is what I do. That's why I come on every Thursday and I just share information. My job is to inform and provide access to those who may not get it so they can make informed decisions for their students and for their children if you are a parent. So this is not just for those people. If you're just interested in education, you like the topic of public education, if you like public policy, you like issues with discipline or achievement, if you like scores like assessments, state assessments, national assessments, that is what I talk about. I talk about great things. I talk about foolish things as well. I talk about some of the things these people do, and you're like, what in heaven on earth were you thinking when you did that? And then we talk about some very critical conversations like school shootings, like violence in schools, school discipline, inequities and discipline among Black young men, the inequities and gifted students that are of color, of Black and brown. So I'm going to tackle it all. Why? Because I'm a teacher and I like to talk, and this is my mouth and you can't stop me. This is a free platform. So if you don't like it, you don't have to join. But if you like it, I want you to join, and I also want you to share this out. That's right, Ms. Matthews. Committed, consistent, and capable. And I'm not talking about just teachers. I'm talking about leaders as well, because leaders drive the ship. Leaders drive the ship at the school and at the district level. If you got poor leadership, more than likely, we can't really move students or teachers at all because they lack the ability to do so. They are incapable. And so get in here. I need to know who else is in here. I see Ms. Matthews. I see several people on here, but I don't know who you are. So jump in the chat. Just tell me who you are, what your name is, where you're from. If you want to give me a nickname, if you don't want to use your real name because you want to have some anonymity, feel free to do that. If you want to be called John Doe, I'll call you John Doe in the comments when you make a comment or you ask a question. So it's up to you. So let's get into the topic for tonight. Remember, this is the year end, not year inside, but end like wrapping up reflection. So let's start here. When you think about wrapping up this year, many times people make New Year's resolutions, and those resolutions are about things that they're going to do better. And from the perspective of doing better, they think that there are some things they need to stop doing. So in order to do better, some people focus on things that you need to stop doing. I'm going to say these fall in the category of things that need to be buried. All right, need to be buried. Then there are things that sometimes we don't think about, and this is thinking glass half full, that you don't need to bury, but I want you to think about these as things that you need to give birth to, okay? You need to give birth, bring life to some of these things. So we're going to talk about the things that you oftentimes think that you need to bury. And then we're going to talk about those things that you need to give birth to, because that comes from a more positive lens, right? So let's first think about the burial. I'm typing as I talk. So when you think about burial, you think these are things I need to remove. These are things I may need to limit. These are things that I may need to destroy or eliminate out of my life. Okay. So what does that look like? You're trying to move to a new level. You're trying to do something new. And you're saying, in order to do that, as I'm wrapping up this year and I'm reflecting on my life, then there are some things I need to bury. I need to limit. I need to remove. I need to destroy. I need to eliminate. So you say, what are those things, or what is that thing? So we're going to be really honest in this conversation, because some of the things that you need to bury could be your attitude. Your attitude, you may need to bury that attitude, whether it's a negative attitude or a bad attitude or a nasty attitude or something that you possess in terms of attitude that does not allow people to connect to you. You may say, I need to bury that. You may say, I need to bury my negativity. I may need to bury some friendships or relationships that just are not productive. I know they aren't productive. Why am I hanging on to these things? I don't know, but I am, right? You may say, I need to eliminate some distractions. Food, hanging out, I don't know, watching TV, binge watching TV. I need to really limit those things. Sometimes the things you need to bear are those doubts. You've got some doubts, or you've got these fears that, whatever it is that you want to do, you can't do it. Or the anxiety, or the fear that you're not good enough, or that thing is not meant for you to do. Sometimes you got to bury those past failures. They're in the past. Let them go. It's over. You've got to forgive yourself for those things. You're walking in a new time, a new season. Sometimes you got to bury that arrogance. There's nothing wrong with confidence, but arrogance is not a good thing. Again, it causes people to not want to connect to you, and it could really hinder you from going where you want to go and moving a group of people. If we're talking about students, if we're talking about your children, if you're talking about your family, if you're talking about the people on your job that you're trying to move, if you're in leadership, it could be your arrogance. It could be your approach. Could have good intention, but the approach is just jacked up. It's wrong, right? You may need to bury that. You may need to bury some of those past hurts that you're holding on to, and you're holding people hostage to somebody else that hurt you or that talked to you in a very demeaning way. It's not their fault. You may need to bury some of your loyalties. My mom would always say, you need to be loyal to people that are loyal to you, or be loyal to things that are loyal to you. Sometimes you're loyal to a job that is not loyal to you. You're loyal to coworkers or friends that aren't loyal to you. What about patterns? This is a big one. Sometimes you need to bury patterns or behaviors or traditions, things that you do because you always do them, or things in the school that you do because the school has always done them, even before you got there. The way the classroom is run, this is how all the classrooms are run in my building. So that's just what I do. Or maybe the way they think about children, they just automatically assume that all children that look like this, or dress like this, or talk like this will behave or perform in a certain way. Maybe you need to bury that pattern, that tradition, that assumption, that belief. You've got to remove that thing, because if you don't let it go, if you don't limit it, if you don't control it, if you don't bury it, if you don't destroy it, it may hinder you from going in the direction that you need to go. Once again, if we're talking about professionally as an educator, or if we're talking about personally in your life, this is the time to do it, because this is the year-end reflection. You've got to see yourself for who you really are. And right now we're talking about to see yourself for those things that you need to bury. All right, bury. And then some of you guys are just controlling. You want to control everything. Let it go. It is causing you stress. It's causing you angst. It's causing you interactions with people with conflict because you're just so controlling. You want to control people. You want to control things. You want to control time. It's out of your control. You can't do it. Stop it. Stop it. So think about those things that you need to bury. Again, bury from the mindset of limiting, removing, destroying, or eliminating. So that is the glass half empty perspective. When we try to move forward, we always say, I need to stop doing this. I need to stop doing that. I got to start getting my kids, or I got to stop treating my kids like this, or I got to stop. All right. That is the burial mindset. So now let's talk about the glass half full, which is the birthing mindset. So instead of thinking of all the things you need to bury, I want you to think about some of the things you need to give birth to. Okay? Are you with me? If you're with me, give me a thumbs up, give me a high five, give me a smiley face, give me something. As you're doing that, I want to check these various chats to make sure that the people are here, that the people are with me, and that if they have a comment, I'm able to see what they're actually saying. All right. So we're talking about first the things that you need to bury. And now we're going to get into those things that you need to give birth to. And as we continue to share and talk, I want you to be reflecting. You may want to take out a paper and pencil and start taking some notes as well. Note taking is not bad. You've entered into my classroom, so you got to behave like a teacher and behave like a student. So I'm your teacher, you're my student. So sometimes note taking is good because I want you to take some of these things away with you and then reflect. This is not a conversation that you're probably going to walk away with and be done with it like directly after we finish. You're going to have to sit on some of this, which I think is a good thing. So when you think about the things you need to give birth to, the first thing I want you to think about is the word birth. This is where you create. This is where you enhance. This is where you place intent to give life to something or enhance something or to be more productive in a particular thing. Now, you may not know exactly what that thing is. So let's talk about it. So from an educational perspective, I focus a lot with school turnaround and school improvement. One of the things that you may need to give birth to that you may not have right now in your arsenal that is going to benefit you in your professional and your personal life is accountability. You got to be truthful and you have to hold yourself accountable for what you said you're going to do and what you're responsible for. And then taking ownership of those things. So if you're accountable for, let's say, putting in 3 grades a week, be accountable for. And if you don't do it, own up to your and say, hey, I failed. I didn't do it. I understood the goal. I take full accountability and I take ownership for my actions that I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And then forgive yourself. You're not perfect, but get back on the boat and then do better. The next thing is you got to be consistent. Part of the reasons that the goals that you may have for coming into this new year that you may never achieve is because you are not consistent. You cannot commit to that thing doing it every day or every week or every other day. You do it kind of sporadically, unintentionally. It's not going to happen if you can't commit to it. Because if you don't commit to, who's going to do it for you? Nobody. So 1, be accountable. Give birth to accountability. You have it, but you've got to plant the seed in order for it to grow. Plant the seed for accountability, and accountability will come to life. You will give birth to it. If you plant the seed for consistency, plant it here, then you can give birth to it. Next, be optimistic. God, some of y'all are so pessimistic. Well, I would, but I don't think it's going to happen for me. I would do that, but I just don't think it's meant for me. I wish I could get my students to do that, but I just don't think they can do it. Jesus. Debbie Downer. Pitiful Paul. Pick yourself up. Think differently. Plant the seed of optimism, of hope, and watch it grow. Give birth to it. Give birth to it. Next, what about mentorship? Some of you all think that you can do it by yourself. You cannot. Everybody needs somebody. You know, the Golden Girl said, "Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again." You need a friend. You need a mentor, somebody that can help guide you. I know y'all heard those vocals. I didn't even warm up. That was straight off. That was fresh. That was fresh. Okay, giving you vocals tonight. So find a mentor, somebody that's doing what you want to do that can help guide you along the way. That is not a bad thing. And that does not mean you are incapable. That makes you smarter than many people because they're not making proper connections. Find a mentor that's doing it, that can help guide you, that's going to be honest with you, that's going to support you in growing. Growing does not mean being comfortable. Growing means there's things that are being stretched. Stretching is uncomfortable, but it's doing that to achieve a final goal or purpose. All right. So be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the only way you're going to grow and improve and get better. Okay. So find a mentor. There's somebody out there that's doing what you want to do, that has done what you're trying to do, that have achieved the goals that you're trying to achieve. You just got to go out there and find them. But that means you got to do a little work. Stop being lazy. Okay. It could be the teacher down the hall that you really don't like, but the lady's pumping out good scores. You don't have to like her to connect and receive something from her. She have to be your best friend, but take what you need. Take what you need. All right. Next. Now, besides mentorship, you need collaboration. Now, this is one of the key things I always promote in everywhere I go. Collaboration is key. Adults have to learn how to work together. Many of you have failed right now because you don't want to work with nobody. You want to do it all by yourself. You fail professionally and you fail personally. You have failed in many of your dealings with your family because you don't want to work with anybody. You wanted to do it your way, your time, your comfortability, your perspective. It's not right. You have got to learn to collaborate. That means you're going to have to give and take. Some of you that's taking, gluttonous in your behaviors. You got to have a giving spirit. You got to learn how to give a little bit too. You got to be flexible. That's another thing you need to give birth to. Flexibility. Give and take, collaborate, and then be flexible. It's not going to always go exactly the way that you plan. So when it doesn't, what do? You got to learn how to pivot. Every great basketball player takes that one foot, they plant it down, and then they pivot around it. And they can go anywhere they want to. They can find the right person to pass that ball to. Collaboration. But you got to plant and then pivot. Plant, pivot. Remember, giving birth, plant the seed. So plant the seed of collaboration. Plant the seed of mentorship. Plant the seed of flexibility. Plant the seed of just being freaking open to ideas. Some of you all are 30 years old and you think like an 80-year-old. You're so closed-minded. You're so closed-minded. You got to open up to receiving or thinking differently, taking in new ideas, new strategies, new ways of thinking, new ways of compromising. Like, as you grow, you got to grow mentally, physically, emotionally, and your maturity also has to grow. Got to trust somebody. Some of us are so untrusting because we've been so hurt in the past, professionally, also personally. We've just been so hurt. We don't trust anybody. You don't trust anybody. You barely trust yourself. You barely trust yourself. And so now you don't trust people very quickly. And there are some people in your life that are worthy of your trust that you can really, really depend on. You just got to give them the opportunity. There are people that want to be there for you, that want to support you, that want to help guide you. Loosen up the reins a little bit. Next, honesty. Yeah, I agree. Joanne says it's hard to trust. It takes a while, and I'm guilty. So I'm not just talking out of the side of my head. I'm talking from experience. It does take a lot to trust, and I am not somebody that trusts quickly. But when I meet a person that has proven worthy of my trust, then I trust them. I trust them. Because if you don't have trust, I don't know, what are you going to do? You're working in isolation. You're thinking in isolation. You're practicing in isolation. What good is that ultimately going to get you? You're going to reach a plateau when you don't have those relationships, and then you kind of like level out, and then that's it. There's no way to go. You're exactly right, Reese. You have to trust, but I'm going to add this one word. You have to learn to trust. And the word learn makes it more intentional. You have to learn. That's the action, right? Trust is the foundation. We have to learn, behave in a trusting way. And that's where many of us come into a struggle, because we have not learned how to trust. And so we've got to do a better job of that. But it can happen. It takes time, but it also takes intentionality. It is a skill you have to practice and be intentional about, and going back, being committed to it and being consistent to it, being open to receiving people for who they are and what they can provide for you. You can't trust everybody with everything. That's the key point right there. There are certain people you can't trust to hold you accountable, right? There are certain people you can't trust to be honest with you because they're just dishonest people. But they may be somebody that can give you some resources that you need because they have that, right? Wow. Key. Wow. I love this. Learning to trust takes courage. And this is going to lead me to my next thing that you need not to bury, but that you need to give birth to. And that is, you need to give birth to taking a risk. And that's where the trust comes in sometimes. You've got to give birth to risk taking. And taking a risk means, I think I know where I need to go, but I'm not quite sure if I'm going to land on firm foundation. But it's worth the risk. Because if I do it, many people will benefit, not just myself. And so when it's for the good of everyone, take the risk. Trust your instinct, trust your gut, hold yourself accountable, make sure you've checked off everything to say, this is a sure bet, right? If you're a blackjack player, if you got 2 cards in your hand that total 10, I'm not going to tell you to go all in, because you lack the resources, you lack the support or the evidence that this is a worthwhile bet, right? But if you're holding 20 in your hand and you're looking around the table and people aren't looking confident, and based off your past experiences, you're saying to yourself, God, I really feel good about this. This feels like it's a risk, but it's almost a sure bet. Then I would say to you, go all in. It's worth the risk. Give birth to taking risk this year. Because if you keep doing it the way you've always done it, you're going to keep getting the same results. And that's because you're not taking risk. You're not being consistent. You're not committed to it. You're not being open. You're not holding yourself accountable. You're not having mentorship. You're not collaborating. You're not trusting yourself. Take the risk. Take the risk. Jenkins says, I am currently reading The Speed of Trust, and I have gained so much knowledge. There you go. She's planting seeds. and allowing that seed to give birth to something else that she can use to create growth and opportunity and what I call just simple betterment for the overall good. So we've talked about burial, and that is the glass half empty perspective. So we don't want to go into this new year with this negative type of perspective, right? We want to go in with this more positive perception. So we are not talking about burial. We're talking about giving birth to everybody that just joined us. And we're talking about the things that you need to plant a seed in and give birth to in this year that's going to help you move in the direction that you want to move in. So if you are on YouTube, again, remember, like, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the notification. I come on every Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'm here for you. I'm here for you. If you're on Facebook, go over to YouTube. If you're on LinkedIn, get your butt over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's move a little bit further. How are we feeling right now? Are we all good? Because I'm not going to hold you all night because this is like pre-New Year's Eve. So some of you all are getting ready for a party. Some of you guys are already pre-gaming for tomorrow, the day before. That's your business. I'm not judging you. You can do what you want to do because you're grown. But I'm not going to hold you long, but I want to just plant these seeds in your head to give you something to think about over the next several days as you guys get ready to go back to work, whether you're in schools or not, as your students get ready to come back, as you're getting ready to work with your teachers, you're getting ready to work with your leaders, you're getting ready to work with your parents. We've got to be more positive. We've got to learn how to plant seeds, and we've got to learn how to give birth to some things. That's just where I am this year in my life. I'm ready to I'm ready to give birth. I'm 9 months and I'm ready to pop that baby out. That's where I am. And at the end of the day, do it because the risk is worth it. Now, Ms. Matthews says, no, we are only having an immediate family gathering, no big gatherings this year. Listen, side note, COVID is real. Listen, y'all, everybody has COVID. Everybody. I mean, over the last 2 weeks, I know about 10 to 15 people that have contracted COVID. So if you don't have to go anywhere, stay home. Go get you a bottle of champagne, a bottle of wine. You know, if you got a little moolah, get you some Moet. Pop that thing, go around the corner, get you some little firecrackers, those little sparklers if you have kids. Have a good time at home. Do what you want to do and go to bed. It's not worth being out here contracting COVID and then passing it on to other people in your family that you really do love. Now, some people you may not love that much. You get them COVID, you may be like, you know what, you deserve to get COVID, your little nasty self. But most people, you don't want to give them COVID. So wash hands. Feeling encouraged and excited about giving birth to colleagues. Ooh, colleagues. And that's a tough one because if you don't know this yet, most grown people just don't work well together for whatever reason. Teachers work really well with students. They don't work really well with other teachers. Wow, it's just an interesting concept that teachers don't work well with teachers, but because people have their own perspective, mindsets, and attitudes about what they do and what works. So that's probably why. So yeah, wash those hands, Dr. Griffin Stewart. But she's ready to give birth. You want to tell me something? You talking about giving birth to some seeds? You're going, okay, not that kind of giving birth. I'm just saying. If we want to talk about some other stuff, we can talk about that too. This is a free domain. We can do that. So now what I want to do is I'm giving you time to reflect, but I want to give you an example because I really want to make it real. Every good teacher, right, models or gives an exemplar for their students. So I want to do that for you. Again, feel comfortable to get inside the chat. I'm watching the chat. I'm responding to your comments. You can feel free to respond to anybody else who has a comment for those that are in the chat as well. There are several of you all on here. So again, I appreciate everybody who is in here watching, who is logged in, who is participating, who are engaged with me in this conversation. So in this new year, and actually I kind of came up with this birthing idea around my birthday, which is at the end of November. But I decided that this season that I'm in, what I want to do is better align my words with my ways. Okay, let me come back to that. I want to make sure that the words that come out of my mouth align directly to the patterns in which I walk. The words that come out of my mouth directly align to the pattern in which I walk. So for me, this year is my year of chiropractic realignment. I'm going through chiropractic realignment between my words and my walk because they need to make sense. Because when they don't make sense to people that you support, that you lead, that's where mistrust comes in, because what you say cannot be provided in evidence in the way that you walk. And that's important, especially for everybody in here that's a leader. Every leader needs to really think about that. Bailey says, good, align my words with my ways. That'll preach. Go ahead, take it to church. You can tweet that right now. It's free. Align your ways with your words, because it's important, because people are watching you. And not just for my leaders, also for my teachers. Your students are watching you. So what you say should mimic the way you walk. Because if it does not, mistrust settles in. It settles in like a cancer. And the more there is misalignment, the more the cancer grows. And it just doesn't grow. It spreads. And if anybody knows anything about cancer, once it starts metastasizing and spreads throughout the body, the classroom, the culture, the building, the district, the state, it's hard to kill it. It's hard to kill it. So what I'm saying is, don't allow cancer to be integrated into your space, into your life, into your profession. You got to be more consistent in what you say with your words and how you walk in practice. So that is where I am planting seeds this year. I'm being intentional. I'm doing an alignment between those two things, and I'm being consistent and committed to it. I have a partner who's going to hold me accountable. I'm collaborating with people that work in that area of saying, of giving your words real power. That's important to me. And so that is kind of where I am. So what I want you to do is, if you want to share, you can. But what I want you to think about, what is it that you're going to do as you reflect year in, that you're going to place a focus on in this new year, this new season, this new period of your life? Matthew says, if my message is misaligned, there's a malignancy and you are dropping. Listen, I'm telling you that it's so true. And I think part of what we miss in education, not forget that, in life, are relationships. Part of the reason why your relationships in your building and in your home are so destroyed is because you allowed mistrust to build up because of the way you treated somebody. And they were hurt because they thought you were somebody different because of what you had been saying, but what you did not align to that, and it hurt them. And it destroyed the relationship. And you're working hard to try to rebuild it, and you don't even know what you did to even create the cancer. And here's the thing, there's no cure for cancer. So what you got to focus on is getting rid of the idea of curing it. You got to focus on treatment. You got to focus on treatment. And the treatment is what you're going to give birth to: the honesty, the open, the flexibility, the consistency, the commitment, everything you said you're going to give birth to. Those are the treatments to deal with some of the cancers, those malignancies that you've already created in your life, in your profession, in your classroom, with your colleagues. You got to focus on treatment. You can't focus on cure. Focus on the treatment, because you may never get rid of it. What do people always say? I may never, ever forget but I can forgive. I can forgive you, but I can't forget what you did. So those things need treatment, because we spend our time dealing with cures, and cures aren't going to fix it. You got to focus on treatment, because you can grow and get better if you treat the problem. Because why do I say you can't cure it? Because you don't control people. You can't control people. So why even focus your energy and time there? Focus on the treatments. Okay. So these are the things I want you to ask yourself. So what seeds are you going to plant? What are you going to give birth to? And I want you to just come up with a list of those things. Professionally in your classroom, what are you doing that you are going to bury, but more importantly, that you're going to give birth to? Now, like everything that grows, every plant that grows, when you plant a seed, then the conditions have to be optimal for seed growth and expansion. Because those seeds, those roots have to build up a foundation before the plant breaks through the surface. So I want you to think about what are those conditions that are needed in order for you to plant the seed and give birth to those things to make them real. Okay? What are those needed conditions? Next, what goals? What's your goal? So if you have this seed, this is the thing you want to give birth to, you know what the conditions are. What is the goal? This year, my goal is blah, blah, blah. Or the goal is this. You have to know where you're trying to go. Sometimes if you don't do that, you may overshoot, you may undershoot, but you have to have a clear expectation for what the goal is, right? So what is the seed you need to plant? What are you trying to give birth to? What are the necessary conditions in order for that seed to be viable? And then next, what is the goal? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? And lastly, how are you going to monitor that? What are those steps incrementally where you're going to do those checks? And you need to have a partner that's going to hold you accountable to walk along with you with those checkpoints. And you have to be open and honest about where you are. What is the craziest thing to me is when people lie to themselves. Don't lie to yourself. You set a goal, you don't meet the mark, you say, oh, well, this happened because blah, 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 blah. It's somebody else's fault, or you make up reasons why it didn't happen. Just say it didn't happen. Own your stuff. Be real about why it didn't happen, and then make the necessary treatments. You're trying to cure with a lie. You can't cure it. Just treat it. Your kids have never passed a state assessment. You can't cure that. That data is there. It's real, right? And guess what? They have had many teachers before you. So it's not just your fault. So your job is not to cure them. You're not the fix to it, but you can provide treatments. Individualized treatments that will support taking them where you're trying to take them. Even professionally as an educator, you don't possess every skill needed to create evident, quick school and student achievement, school turnaround, right? You don't have everything. You don't have every tool in the toolkit. So you've got to be open to growing, being real about those areas that are not your strengths. They're undeveloped strengths, and then focus on growing those things. You're not perfect. We want to create this image of perfection. We're not. We're not. So you've got to grow in order to help your students grow, right? I made a post recently. We've got level 4 teachers, 3 and 4 teachers. That means our teachers are top-notch, high-tier, high-quality instruction being provided every day. That's the assumption. But we've got students who are not even achieving, and even more sadly, they're not even growing. How are teachers top-notch and students are low-level with no growth? We've got to be real about that. And that's where my leaders come into play. If you know instructional leadership is not your strength, be honest about that. Say, hey, I'm good on operations. I can make sure people are in the building. I can make sure the lights are on. I can make sure there's a schedule. I can make sure there's food in the cafeteria. I can make sure that the environment is clean and safe. But in terms of going in and supporting instruction, supporting my teachers, to support students, that's just not my strength. Go out and get yourself some help, clown. You're the leader. You lead everything, including learning. Our leaders have to really take ownership of that. Everybody's not there quite yet, right? There is a little bit of arrogance as it relates to some leaders because they don't want to take ownership and say, hey, I'm not strong instructionally. I see what you're doing, but I don't know if I can support you. If you can't do it, go out and get some help. But while you're getting the help, partner with somebody that can help you grow as a leader so that you can help your teachers grow, who then can support students where they're weak and support their growth, not just achievement, their growth. Don't be the cure, be the treatment. And what is the power of being the treatment? Because when you think about a cure, there's one cure. When you think about treatments, there's multiple treatments. There's multiple treatments. There's several ways to treat one thing. But typically, there's only one cure. Take the pressure off of yourself of having to be the cure and just be a part of the solution as a treatment. I just released somebody right there. That's going to help you moving forward. You don't have to be the cure. You just have to be the treatment. Right? So in the chat right now, if you want to add to the conversation, this is your time, because I'm getting ready to wrap up. I have held you guys here for a good bit of time. I normally don't like to go over 45 minutes. I have done that. And so I'm going to be true to myself. I'm going to get you guys rested, get you guys in bed, and get you guys up and ready to start the new year. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the work that I'm doing in schools. I'm excited about the advocacy work I do. If you know anybody that needs an advocate for their child, if the child is experiencing some issues with their school, whether it be academic or emotional, 504 IEP, gifted, anything that you need support in, especially for parents, you need somebody to come in and support you in a meeting, whether it be virtual or face-to-face. I do advocacy work for free. Reach out to me, go to Fully Engaged Education. I do that work for free. I will sit in on a meeting, just make sure I have approval to do so, and I will be there to support you. I always come from a teacher perspective, so I'm never going to beat a teacher down because I understand the work they do is difficult. But what I will do is try to help find treatments to make it better. I will help find treatments, and I want to advocate both for the parent, for the child, as well for the school and the leader in the building, because we have to learn how to work together. We are a community whose main job is to support each and every student in a building. So advocacy work, consulting work, if you need me, reach out to me. Once again, you can go to Fully Engaged Education on YouTube. Information is there. You can go to my Facebook page, Fully Engaged Education as well. All the contact information is there. And I will be here for you, right? Now, this is free. This is a free platform. So when you come on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock and you have a question or a comment, I'm giving you free advice. Now, it's not going to be free all the time if I come to your building, but in this platform, this is free. This is my way of giving back to a community that has given so much to me, that has given me purpose, and that has given me a mission to live. And so I'm committed to education until this journey for me is over. And so thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Thank you for my old friends who I haven't talked to in a while for joining in and being a part of this. Thank you for new friends that have joined in. Share this. Go back and watch some old videos. There are a lot of those videos out there. I think I have over maybe 50 videos that I did just last year. So I'm just starting back up this year. And so go back, get caught up. I share a lot of great tips as it relates to school and education, federal policy. Woo! That is my baby. Federal policy, school discipline, high quality instruction, school turnaround, school improvement. That is what I love to do. But I do a lot of different things as it relates to education. So thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Jenkins. Thank you, Matthews. Thank you. I was about to say Selby. Thank you, Davey. Thank you, Griffin Stewart. Thank you, guys. I've enjoyed the time with you all. You guys have a beautiful new year. You guys have a great night. Until I see you again, as I always say, be safe, be blessed, and I'll see you next time.